Welcome to the Special Youth Inc. podcast. Youth Inc. project aims to enhance youth voice for diversity and inclusion. Throughout the project, young people and youth workers explore diversity, inclusion, and the power of dialogue, and they learn to recognize invisible heroes, individuals whose quiet, persistent work strengthens the social fabric even when their contributions are not widely acknowledged. The project is co-founded by the European Union. What you're about to hear in this podcast is a panel conversation featuring Israeli and Palestinian interfaith activists, invisible heroes who dedicate their lives to building understanding, trust, and cooperation across lines of faith and national identity, including with youth from several local communities. Their daily efforts to foster dialogue, challenge stereotypes, and create spaces of encounter make them powerful role models. The panel was held on November 6, 2025, as part of a wider event to mark the 60th anniversary of Nostra Aetate, the breakthrough declaration by the Catholic Church, urging their disciples to enter with prudence and charity into discussion and collaboration with followers of other religions, so that mutual understanding and respect may be fostered. Panelists, moderated by Jared Goldfarb of the Interfaith Encounter Association, discussed how can we, today, use these principles to promote the values of peace, diversity, and inclusion. Opinions expressed are from the panelists alone and do not necessarily reflect the values of the Interfaith Encounter Association, the European Union, or any of the Youth Inc. organizations. We hope this conversation inspires youth workers and young people as they continue learning, questioning, and shaping more inclusive communities.
It's lovely to see you all. It's an honor to be here. Thank you very much. I'll just share before we get going that I literally just pulled into Jerusalem from leading a multi-faith bike tour across the Negev desert from Jerusalem to Eilat. It was an absolutely fascinating experience, and I ran to get back to make sure I got back to Jerusalem in time for this wonderful event. It's such an honor to be a part of this experience. We'll get started by introducing our panelists, who will say, I'll give a little bit of background into who they are as individuals, and then we'll give each panelist an opportunity to say few words, 5 minutes or less, about the organizations that we all represent and the work that we do. And then from there, we'll let the conversation go into sort of specific questions regarding how the process of living Nostra Aetate has affected our work in interfaith, multi-faith environments here in the land. So we'll start with Pida on my right. Pida Jones-Kalach is a trained educator and the director of educational activities at the Elijah Interfaith Institute. She is the co-founder and moderator of Praying Together in Jerusalem, which you have now witnessed live, as well as the secretary of the Jerusalem Rainbow Group for Jewish-Christian Encounter and Dialogue. She's also a member of the Alliance for Middle East Peace's Women's Leadership Network, and an activist with Women Wage Peace, as well as a blogger on the Times of Israel website. In her spare time, Pida plays competitive Scrabble, Game On, and enjoys Israeli folk dancing. Pida, I'm going to turn it over to you to share a little bit about the work that you're involved with.
Thanks, Jared, and I'm going to try to be brief to leave more time for the others, so stop me if I'm not so brief. Praying Together in Jerusalem, we'll start there because you've seen it. About 12 years ago, I was representing the Elijah Interfaith Institute, who employ me, as at a conference which was called Envisioning Our Future at the Tantur Institute. And Father John Paul's predecessor, Father Russ McDougall, had just arrived, and we found ourselves in an open space exercise saying, we have to pray side by side. And that was the start of Praying Together in Jerusalem, and it's a wonderful partnership. And we do it every month, and we've even done it, and we'll come back to this, since COVID and since this war. We haven't stopped praying side by side. And when people ask me, what do? I actually believe prayer is doing something. So that's part of it. In fact, the Elijah Interfaith Institute is not an organization that just brings people together for encounter. That's a terrific and important aspect of interfaith work. but it's essentially an educational and academic organization that brings together world religious leaders and brings together scholars of religion, but we call them scholar practitioners. In other words, I'm not so interested in somebody who's an expert in Christianity but doesn't live a Christian life. I'm interested in somebody who's an expert in the religion but also lives that life. So we bring together academics and religious leaders. That means it's a world international organization. Not so much of our work is focused here, but Praying Together in Jerusalem is here. And the other thing that we do right here in the Holy Land is run a summer school. It's been going for many years, and it brings together students of theology and religious leaders and activists together for an annual summer school. And again, we've had to move on to Zoom when there's a war, when there's COVID, but we don't stop. The other organization which I officially represent here is the Rainbow Group, which is a direct result of Nostra Aetate. 60 years ago, a group of religious leaders, it started with Jewish religious leaders and scholars, and mainly from the Hebrew University, said, the Catholic Church has done this amazing thing. What's the Jewish response to it? We have to start talking. And from 60 years ago, the Rainbow Group brought together religious leaders and academics, and we haven't stopped. We meet every month, and I describe it as the intellectual highlight of my month. When we get together with religious leaders and scholars. I need to add one more thing. See, I literally, as well as figuratively, wear many hats. And I do have to say, I've subtly worn the colors of Women Wage Peace, which is another one of my organizations, because Women Wage Peace sorry, I should have said this. On October the 4th, 2023, Women Wage Peace had a huge gathering. On October the 5th, Praying Together in Jerusalem met. We'll come back to that. But Women Wage Peace recently, just 2 years ago, recognized the importance of bringing religion into peacemaking. And we've had a wonderful project to explore how religion can contribute to peacemaking. So although I'm not officially representing that organization today, I wanted to mention it because, as we've seen with the Interfaith Encounter, with the Elijah Interfaith, with Praying Together in Jerusalem, with Rainbow Group, every one of these organizations plays a different role in bringing people together. And I believe each one of them, as well as many others, have a tremendous contribution to make, because if we're really going to make peace, Elijah says sharing wisdom, fostering peace, that's our motto, but it's also got to be getting to know the other, fostering peace. It's got to be so many things, and that's why I'm honored to be able to be part of many different diverse initiatives.
I'll take it. Thank you, Pita. Our next panelist is Rabbi Sarel Rosenblatt. Rabbi Sarel serves as the Rosh Yeshiva, the Or Torah Stone, Robert M. Barron Machanaim Hesder Yeshiva, and is the head of the Or Torah Stone, Joseph and Gwendolyn Strauss Rabbinical Seminary. Did I get that right?
Yeah.
In addition, he is a co-founder and senior research fellow at the Or Torah Interfaith Center. Rabbi Rosenblatt has been deeply involved in interfaith dialogue, both in Israel and abroad, having both participated in and later facilitated in the Culture, Religion, and Conflict Resolution Seminar at Drew University in New Jersey. He was a participant in the Search for Common Ground's Leaders Interfaith Group and has taken part in numerous international interfaith initiatives. Rabbi Rosenblatt holds a Bachelor of Education with a focus on Jewish thought from Herzog College and a Master's in Jewish Philosophy from Ben-Gurion University. He lives in a flat with his wife, Turit, and their 5 children, where they are actively involved in community life. Rabbi Sarel, I invite you to share a little bit about the work that you do.
Hey, thank you very much. Good evening, everyone. It's nice to be here among beautiful people. I feel blessed to be here. So, 7 years ago, after several years in the field of interreligious dialogue and interfaith, I felt that as a religious leaders, as educator, as a rabbi in community, I saw that there is tremendous gap between what's happening inside the institutions and what is happening in the field of interfaith and interreligious dialogue. much of that not going into the institutions. Our students not really know about what is happening around them. And also I felt that in the field there is many, many good people, but I felt there is no like books. As a rabbi, I always look for a book to make a brave halachic decision from a Jewish perspective that can deepen the dialogue. I felt that many, many people work for peace, but they don't know how to make it alongside with their Jewish identity, with their Israeli identity, with their Zionist identity. And from my perspective, to be a Jew, Zionist Jew in Israel, is to dialogue, is to make peace. This is our task in the world. So we established the Auto Interfaith Center. We'll try to do it briefly. So first, in the heart of the institute is the Bet Midrash for Judaism and humanity, which deals with all the hard questions nowadays about interreligious. What is the response from the Jewish side from Nostra Aetate? So we need to start it somewhere. We need to learn and to write the book and the books that deal with all these hard questions in order not just to make the dialogue rooted in our tradition, but also in order to take the field further, to make many, many rabbis and many, many people to join the dialogue, to join the field of interfaith, but also to take the field itself forward to the place it should be. And so we started with, I just bring our two new books. One is, and now has a English translation, which God Shall Be One. I think this is a kind of a Jewish Nostra Aetate, in some sense, like really, like from a Jewish, Zionist, Israeli perspective, that really love Israel state, how I see interreligious dialogue, not just as something that it's important to do, but really one of our main tasks of our generation. I really believe in that. And the second book deals with the question of minorities, non-Jewish minority in a Jewish state. And I think that we, as the majority group in the country of Israel, we have lots of job to do in order to promote responsibility and partnership. So this is the core of our institute, but we also know that we have to increase our impact. So second department of our institute is the Blickley Institute, which try to increase our impact. We bring to the institute people, rabbis, leaders from our communities that have influential on the society, and to train them to know the field better, to deal with the hard question that we must to deal with, and we see our the rabbis, the educators, journalists that went through our program, like really they opened their eyes to see the other, to acknowledge that something is going around them, something huge is going around us, everyone, about, especially to be familiar with the Nostra Aetate and all the changes that's happening within Catholic Church and also in others denomination. And the third department of our institute is really to be active in the field of interreligious dialogue. Of course, with our brothers and sisters from Christianity, but also we can understand that recent years we're very involved in the interreligious between Muslims and Jews, and we have lots of initiatives also here in Israel, Palestine, but also abroad with Arab countries around us. And last word is that I just want you to know that for me, Nostra Aetate is a huge inspiration, and our dream and our task is to bring the Nostra Aetate between Judaism and Islam. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Our next panelist, Mohammed Najani Dawoodi. At a time when Islam is increasingly identified with violent extremism and hostility towards Christians and Jews, Professor Najani Dawoodi advocates for an Islam that is true to its Quranic foundations, which call for freedom of religion, tolerance, reconciliation, coexistence, cooperation, compassion, empathy, and interfaith dialogue. Professor Najani Dawoodi is a Jerusalemite scholar and a peace activist. He holds a doctorate from the University of South Carolina and another from the University of Texas at Austin. In 2007, he established the Wasatiyah Moderate Islamic Movement and the Wasatiyah Academic Institutes. And in March 2014, he was forced to resign from his posts as Rector of Libraries and founding director of the American Studies Institute at Al-Quds University for taking his students on an educational trip to the Nazi death and concentration camp in Auschwitz to teach them empathy, compassion, and tolerance. He received death threats. His car was torched. In 2014, Tufts University bestowed upon him the Dr. Jean Mayer Global Citizenship Award for his ongoing work to build peace, encourage dialogue, and find alternatives to extremism. Between 2015 and 2017, he became the Weston Fellow at the Washington Institute for Near East Policy, and in March 2023, the Austrian Parliament awarded him the Simon Wiesenthal Prize for his tireless efforts in combating anti-Semitism. In September 2023, he received the Excellence in Leadership Award from Queens College, New York University. And I think that's a lot. That's a very impressive resume. Mohammed, I would like to turn over the microphone to you to share a little bit about the work you're involved in.
Thank you. Many of you may wonder what Wasatiyah is and how it relates to Nostra Aetate. The Wasatiyah movement, founded in January 2007, is a moderate Islamic initiative that promotes tolerance, understanding, and cooperation among people of different faiths. It is the word Wasatiyah is extracted from the Quranic verse number 143 of Al-Baqarah Surah, which is the second chapter in the Quran. Let me extract the section on Islam from Nostra Aetate, a document that promotes interfaith dialogue and understanding, and presented from an Islamic eyes. The Holy Quran teaches its followers to revere Judaism and Christianity and to respect them. The verse say, we believe in the revelation which was revealed to us and in that which was revealed to you. Our God and your God is one, and it is to him we bow. Islam emphasizes the shared belief in the same God and the unity of all believers. It acknowledges that all faiths worship God, the creator of heaven, earth, and mankind, and strive to submit to God's will and commands, as did Abraham, peace be upon him, to whom all heavenly faiths are credited. This shared reverence for Abraham, the common patriarch, serves as a unifying thread between the three Abrahamic faiths, fostering a sense of unity and common ground. All religions value moral conduct and worship God through prayer, charity, fasting, performing good deeds, helping the needy, standing by the oppressed, and doing the right thing. The Quran says, believers, Jews, Christians, and Sabians. Whoever believes in God and the judgment day and does what is right shall be rewarded by their Lord. They have nothing to fear or to regret. Islam reveres Moses and Jesus Christ as prophets. It is he who sent down to thee in truth the book confirming what was sent before it. He sent down the law of Moses and the gospel of Jesus before this as a guide to mankind, and he sent down the criterion for judgment between right and wrong. Islam honors the Virgin Mary, whom the Quran mentions in a chapter titled after her. Islam, like the other two heavenly religions, believes in paradise and hell, and its followers await the day of judgment, when God will judge all those resurrected from the dead. The Quran teaches respect for all the holy books, the Torah, and the Bible, what has been revealed before. Despite historical wars, conflicts, and animosities, and centuries of tension between Jews, Christians, and Muslims, Wasatiyah, as a fundamental Islamic pillar, calls upon the descendants of Abraham for a collective effort to move to a future beyond the prejudice and hatred taught and practiced in the past and present, to forgive those who have wronged us, to have God forgive the wrongs we have done, and earnestly pursue mutual understanding and healing through cooperation and interfaith dialogue. Perhaps God will put love between you and your enemies, for God is mighty, forgiving, and merciful. Together, we are urged to uphold and promote the common principles of moderation, reconciliation, peaceful coexistence, tolerance, compassion, empathy, diversity, and belonging, and to propagate moral values that fosters pluralism, peace, liberty, and justice for the betterment of humanity. To each his religion. Through the Wasatiyah initiative, we seek interfaith engagement, healing, and understanding after 2 harrowing years. We envision future Wasatiyah education that improves relations among people of diverse religions, guided by the vision outlined in Nostra Aetate. The real clash today is not between the civilizations of Islam on the one side and Christianity and Judaism on the other side, but between those in the cave of ignorance and those who left the cave and were blessed with knowledge and enlightenment. It is between the peacemakers and the warmongers, between those with hearts of stone and those with hearts of flesh. While those with hearts of stone incur God's wrath, those with hearts of flesh are the ones blessed by God. Let me close with this thought. A journalist asked, what makes you remain optimistic about peace when those who have lost their faith in peace, or that this conflict would ever be resolved peacefully, represent the majority on both sides? My response, the past and present belong to them, but the future belongs to us, the peacemakers and the peace builders. Thank you.
Thank you, Mohammed. And now to Christina Samara. Christina has over 30 years of experience in organizing high-quality travel services to VIP luxury, pilgrimage, and educationally focused groups visiting the Holy Land and the Near East region. A Palestinian Christian born and raised in Jerusalem, Christina obtained a degree in travel and tourism from the United States and returned to Jerusalem in 1991 to lead Samara Tourist and Travel Agency, her Jerusalem-based family business. Christina is also a licensed tour guide and holds several specialty degrees and licenses, and is a recognized expert in the field of Palestinian tourism. She was actively involved on the board of the Holy Land Incoming Operators Association and held the office of board chairperson from 2010 to 2012. In 2013, she acted as a consultant on a USAID project in tourism, resulting in joining forces with an Israeli friend and co-founding Breaking Bread Journeys, a unique tourism initiative that has flourished and is considered a success story in female entrepreneurship. Her company, Samana Tourist and Travel Agency, established in 1963, is still operating despite many difficult times and will continue to cater to pilgrims according to long-standing tradition. Christina is married with 2 children and has managed to juggle family and business life, and is currently involved in mentoring young Palestinian women who are going into business and reaching for their dreams. Christina.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for inviting me to be part of this panel. I'm very honored. I'm here, basically, I would like to show and talk about how tourism can be used as a way of implementing the principles of Nostra Aetate. Maybe we don't realize it, but a lot can be done in a fun and different way through tourism. And this is something we've been doing a long time. My father established a business, Samara Tourist and Travel Agency, in 1963. Right after the visit of the Pope, he decided that it is very important for him to bring Christian pilgrimages to the land. And he did so, and he specialized mainly in Christian pilgrimages. Now, the Christian pilgrimages at the time was visiting from church to church, following the footsteps of Jesus Christ. And basically, it was a very short trip because it was very expensive at the time to come here. Afterwards, when I entered the business, my father unluckily passed away in 85, so I was still very young. I did my degrees and I went in his footsteps and continued operating the business. And meanwhile, over the years and through experience, I've noticed that it is the trends are changing, and we can introduce a lot more into these tours to make them more rich. And if we show and take people to places other than the Christian places, like the mosques and synagogues, and not only to take pictures, but also to talk to the imam and talk to the rabbi and get a different perspective and hear and be able to ask questions, not just take photographs and selfies. This was very important. So we started introducing these things, and it was very successful. So over the years also, like 13 years ago, I've had the opportunity to join another panel established by Prime Minister Tony Blair, trying to bring Palestinian and Israeli counterparts from the tourism industry. At the time, it was not viable. Nothing can be done on a big scale. But I met my friend Elisa Moed. She also runs a travel business, Traveluya. And we were able to connect on a personal level, let's say. And we established, after a few years, with the help of USAID, we established this tourism initiative. It was one of the first Israeli-Palestinian joint initiatives in tourism. We called it Breaking Bread Journeys. Now, what we also do is taking people to a Shabbat dinner, for example. This is really a highlight. I've had the pleasure of having some people, Sarah here, hosting one of the dinners, for example. Also, we went to Professor Dajani's office to speak with him, iftar meals with families, Muslims, Christians. The iftar, if it's Ramadan, we take them to the iftar dinner, and the family explains about all the different traditions and related to food, related to prayer, and so on. And tourists just ask all kinds of questions they would like to ask that otherwise they would not have the opportunity to do so. So these are the highlights of the tours. Many people on the last day when we have a farewell dinner, many people, we do like a round, like asking everyone on the tour, what was your highlight? So we go through the whole group, and people just have tears in their eyes when they say what the spiritual highlight of them was. And these encounters that we do between Jewish, Christian, and Muslim encounters and families, these are the highlights, and you can read all about them in the TripAdvisor, how impactful this is, even as something as simple as tourism. So thank you for listening.
Thank you, Christina. Before we move on, I just want to share a little bit about the Interfaith Encounter Association, as I am also facilitating but also representing the IEA, especially our sort of co-coordination of this wonderful celebration of Nostra Aetate. For the last 25 years, the Interfaith Encounter Association has been creating, supporting the development of and serving as a resource for interfaith encounter groups across this land. There have been more than 100 different groups that have been created. We even have some that are now active overseas. At any one time, I think currently we have more than 40 different active groups that could be bringing together people based on geography, folks of different faith traditions, different identities, different communities who live in proximity of one another. It could be based on position in life, students, certain professions, etc. Sometimes it's a learning interest that brings people together. I myself was involved with co-coordinating in its early years the multi-faith New Testament study group, and I recently started, and I'm trying to restart an interfaith Quran study group. So there are lots of different opportunities for people to get together and simply be themselves, in a new community, engage with each other, and try to hear each other. Our groups, generally speaking, don't have any particular goals other than to simply be in community with each other. And so it opens up opportunities, especially for folks who may not see themselves as peace activists or interfaith activists, but are simply interested. And because it is possible, and we are thrilled to support the evolution of basically any encounter, it really opens up a vast doorway for people to be able to participate in this kind of activity, to be able to get to know the other. So I'm very proud to represent the Interfaith Encounter Association and to be a part of this amazing event this evening. We'll move on now to a couple of questions, specifically in relation to what do you see as some of the major achievements that Nostra Aetate has brought to us in this land? And maybe more specifically, feel free to address both at the same time. Through the initiatives and the work that you do, how do you see yourselves essentially fostering the values of Nostra Aetate and moving them forward to the next stage? Let me start with you, Peter.
I'd be honored to start, and I'm going to speak primarily about the Elijah Interfaith Institute with regards to this question, because Elijah takes seriously the word religions. We work with 6 different religions. In addition to the Christians, Muslims, and Jews, we also work with Hindus, Buddhists, and Sikhs. And we do look for the respect to look at the differences, to value and respect and honor the differences. And I think that was a key breakthrough with Nostra Aetate. It is to stop trying to make somebody believe as you believe, but actually to honor and respect the difference. And we've discovered and been able to build over the years the understanding that I see in a Jewish midrash, but others see it in other texts. The midrash where God was creating human beings, and the angels were saying it's not a good idea. So in order to break the deadlock between the angels who thought it wasn't a good idea and those who thought it was okay, God takes truth and throws truth to the ground, and truth is shattered into multiple pieces. And as a result of truth being shattered into multiple pieces, we should learn that as human beings, our access to truth is only ever partial. Each one of us can only ever find a partial truth. And the more we know about the other, the more our understanding of truth is growing. The truth that I don't have in my faith, someone else has in their faith, and I grow. And this has been a tremendous, I came into interfaith dialogue through my work in education. I was asked to consult as an educator and found myself in the world of dialogue. And I discovered how much I grew from, I thought I was there to explain who I was, to teach the other about who I was. But I also discovered that I gained so much from hearing from the other. I gained about my own identity, as well as respecting and learning. And we learned to take Stendel's idea of holy envy. That is to say, well, that is not part of my faith, but I recognize the beauty of it in another faith. And I do give credit to Nostra Aetate for opening up that way of thinking, that we can learn about each other in depth and seriously learn about each other with respect for the difference and without a need or a desire to make the other believe as we do.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I'll try to start in the point that you just end. As you mentioned, I think really Nostra Aetate influence on the Western world is wider than our ability to, to see the footsteps like really on the ground. I think the influence is it's major influence. I think Nostra Aetate puts an alternative for each of one of us that says, why don't you follows this approach of respecting and honor different religion? Because if Catholic Church made that journey, and we know that it's a big shift, major shift within Catholic theology. So if they made it, what can we? And it's also, for me, it's always a mirror that reflects how much brave it must be as a leader in the field, and the leader of your own community and your responsibility for your own community. Having said that, from my perspective, I and we in the Ottawa Interfaith Center, we think that we cannot longer stay in respecting one another. Respecting one another, that's what I think Nostra Aetate made in our world, that it has built a safe zone, a place, an environment that each of one of us can feel safe, as you said. But one of my dear colleagues from Drew University in New Jersey, Professor Jonathan Golden, always said that we have to look for the way to move from safe zone to brave zone. And the brave zone for me is to go forward to partnership. As Rabbi Soloveitchik back in the 60s wrote this famous manifest about Nostra Aetate called confrontation, which means we have to go hand by hand because we both confront the same challenges. In other words, we have the same enemy. In other words, we have the same interests. So let's work together. And it's wonderful. It is not enough. This is the goal of our prophets. And I think and feel that especially in our time, after 2 horrible years of war in our region, we can no longer just talk about holding the hope and holding the sky not to fall. We need to go further. We need to step more, to have more steps that taking the interreligious dialogue deeper and deeper. So our partnership can last longer and to overcome the worst challenges that we have in that.
I agree with many of my fellow panelists on many ideas. I think going back to tourism, in the past, I've been talking about, and we worked with bringing Christian pilgrims here, but it's very important also to take it a step further and bring the locals to each other. So the Palestinians and Israelis, Muslims, Christians, and Jews should also be able to come and share meals and share iftar dinners or Shabbat dinners and understand each other. After that, we'll end the dialogue that goes with it. People will understand we're more alike than we're different, and we can overstep many different things, the problems that we have here. So here, it fosters understanding, and it might even eventually bring some peace to this area. I also believe, taking it forward, that the Nostra Aetate principles should be taught in schools, young children, that they grow up with it and they will not feel the difference anymore when they're older. I work with a different initiative also for many years. I'll explain a little bit. My children went to school here in East Jerusalem. They had no way of meeting other children on the Israeli side or Jewish children. So I decided to take them to a school, afternoon school, to learn German language, where Jews, Jewish, Muslim, and Christian children come together to learn a language. But it was much more than a language. They played together. They got to know each other. They learned about traditions. We celebrated Christmas and Hanukkah and all the different, we did several things also with learning each other's cultures. And that's really very important, whether it's Muslim, Christian, or Jewish religions. It brings people together, and it's very important to bring the children together. We'll have a much better future. I mean, it seems so simple. Why can't we do that? It seems simple.
In the last few moments that we have, I want us to just think a little bit about how we in this land have seen a landmark moment. And while perhaps some of the initiatives that we are part of and are trying to further have face some challenges, we continue to sort of play a very important role in where we head from here. So essentially the question is, as we move ahead in the future, in the next months and years, right? How do we envision the future of interfaith relations, encounter, and dialogue? Perhaps both in general, but also specifically the work that we are doing. Christine, I'll start with you.
Taking it forward, we will continue to provide and bring people together. As I said, our long-term project development is bringing the locals together as well. Not just the Christian pilgrimages, but also bridging between the Muslims, Jewish, and Christian people generally, not just tourists, not just the foreigners coming here. You know, I think as a mother and human being, this is a natural thing that we should be doing. If you teach your children these principles as well, my own children, I think we can do a lot for the future.
Extremists on October 7th, on the Palestinian side, sought to widen the gap between us, between Muslims, Christians, and Jews. And extremists on the other side, also in the way they did things, while the idea of widening the gap in the sense of each one of them wants to establish their fantasy of a state without the other, whether it's a Muslim state from river to sea or a Jewish state from river to sea without the other. Our work is to not narrow that gap between both people so that we can share, so that we can have a state or two states or three states or no matter how many states in the sense but to have peace and to live in peace and to share the land. It is the idea of this king who was walking in the fields and he saw this old man planting an olive tree and he wanted to tease him, asking, are you expecting to eat from the fruits of this tree? And the old man said, our grandparents planted, we ate, we plant, so our grandchildren will eat. Unfortunately, our grandparents left us the heritage of war and conflict. And that's, we are working today in order that, so that we can leave our grandchildren a heritage of peace, security, and prosperity.
Amen.
Thank you. So I think extremists, one of our main goal to challenge, to face, but also, as I said before, ignorance. To tell us the truth, most people never heard of stereotypes. To tell you the truth, on both sides. And most of our Christian communities have never heard of stereotypes. And if I'm going back to my community, here in Israel, I'm ashamed to say, I'm really ashamed, but I have to admit, for many, many people, when they see beautiful clothes of priests, they still think in medieval image. I think this is my task as a rabbi. I have to take responsible for my community, the extremists that I know that we have in our side. We have to keep fighting. We have to promote peaceful dialogue between us.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm very conscious of the time as somebody who moderates a lot of conversations. So I will try to be brief, but I do have to share this. On October the 5th, 2023, Praying Together in Jerusalem gathered and had a wonderful gathering. And it was the day after Women Wage Peace and had that huge, wonderful peace event. And that weekend I was on a high. And then October 7th. And Alon and I spoke, how are we going to react? We can't ignore this. And Praying Together in Jerusalem, as I mentioned, used to meet, does meet now once a month. We said we want to meet more frequently. We want to meet at least once a week. And how do we want to meet? What is our topic? How do we meet? And we said we're going to discuss or share teachings on the dignity of the human person. And at the time, nobody imagined the war would go on for so long. In March, we created a compilation video, which was later awarded a place in a short film presentation on religion and peace and film and so on. But the point was that we were learning about the dignity of the human person from the perspectives of these 6 religions that I mentioned, and we were praying for the dignity of the human person. And I have realized over this time that this is a key message that we all share, that every individual deserves dignity. And wars undermine human dignity, whether you're the aggressor or you're the victim. Wars undermine your human dignity. And so my response was to become more of an activist. A few years ago in Women Wage Peace, we were asked to design our story. I was given a course on how to tell our story, and each of us had to come up with, what's your punchline? What's your slogan? And I realized as a person who prays that my slogan is, what's worth praying for is worth working for. If you pray for it, you must work for it. And that has become the mantra that I use. I have to work, not just pray for something, not just learn about it, not just study it, but actively get out there and do something towards it. Not that prayer isn't doing, but we need to go beyond. And I think our speakers, all our panelists have said that we need to go beyond.
I'll just, before I wrap up and say thank you, I just want to add one sentence on the same topic, and that is simply that in a time of conflict, as we often find ourselves here in this land, I think we can all agree that it is often fueled by fear and the unknown of the other. And I think that the value of most, and I thought they certainly we of the Interfaith Encounter Association take that value of encounter and try to bring together people who are not necessarily activists or professionals in the field, but more that we can get people to simply sit in a room together and to talk to each other, can actually give us the tools that we need to either work through periods of tension and conflict or to avoid them altogether. The more that we know each other, the more that we understand each other, the more that we're curious about each other, can certainly help us in simply avoiding conflict altogether. So if that value of Nostra Aetate doesn't compel us to continue the good work that we all do, I don't know what does. So I want to thank you very much, Peter and Samuel, Mohammed and Christina, for joining us in this amazing. Thank you.